A really interesting episode to say the least, and we got a ton of stuff that I might need to explain, and some really interesting skips in the manga chapters as well. Also, Unohana looks menacing as all hell. That's enough from me for this intro, so let's start. And if I didn't say this before, spoilers ahead, since we will be covering the latest episode of Bleach and its manga counterpart. This week's episode, just like the last, used less manga chapters than usual. Bleach episode 8 used 4 manga chapters to cover its runtime. This would be chapters 520, 521, 523, and 524, which is roughly about 67 pages with 312 panels. So let's see what's been added to the stew or what's been deemed unworthy for this episode's palette. Our episode starts out with Nanao Ise, the lieutenant to Kyoraku's squad, trying to get to him as he's now locked in his room reading a letter. It seems he's been appointed the head captain, which for me doesn't really make sense, but I'll explain a little bit later in the video. This chapter is titled Killers Not Dead. This is where the episode would also begin. Now, let's jump right into Ichigo's recovery in the Kirinden. A bit more details about that, which the anime kind of skimmed over. Within the Soul Palace, there are 5 cities that are governed by each of the 5 royal guards. Each city is also an image of the guard that lives there, and each has its own central headquarters. For instance, the Kirinden is the headquarters for Tenjiro Kirinji, who is also known as the Dragon of the Hot Springs. As such, it contains a large underground area that encompasses of healing hot springs. Back to Ichigo as he's being drowned, but this isn't your normal drowning. It's a part of his recovery. And oh my god, I laughed so hard. I didn't think these guys would actually render out this picture. And man, what the hell is Tenjiro wearing? Oh my god, it's even worse from the back. I'll need some time to recover from this. Anyways, let's move along. So the anime and manga would follow the same path right up to where Tenjiro slaps Ichigo to Kingdom Come to prove that he's recovered, and Renji would also take the challenge. They both get ejected to the next area while Tenjiro goes over how impressed he is at Ichigo's growth. Seems staying in the hot spring for too long causes burns, and when he hit Ichigo across the face, he got injured as well due to Ichigo's natural defenses. We now head over to Kyoraku within Central 46. We saw many of them killed previously by Captain Aizen way back in the day, but they're still as pompous as ever. This place is made up of 46 so-called wise men that take orders directly from the Soul King. The influence of Central 46 goes well beyond the boundaries of judiciary authority into those of legislative and operative authorities. Anyways, Kyoraku knows that he has to get permission for the requests he's about to make, but at the same time, he's very smart about what he says to these cowards. He's requesting 2 lieutenants instead of 1, Okikiba and Nanao. But the big meat of the matter is him wanting to train the current Kenpachi in Zanjutsu. This is a fighting style for the Zanpakuto, and it is one of the 4 basic fighting styles of the Shinigami. But this causes a huge uproar, and they are terrified that he would revolt against them. After all, Kenpachi is a monster, and they have the right to be afraid, right? But who would protect these guys if Yuha returns? So they agree, and the big reveal of this episode is the previous Kenpachi, Yachiru Unohana, who will teach the current Kenpachi. And yes, she does have the same name as Kenpachi's current lieutenant. Creepy, right? Well, not really, and I'll explain why. But let's take a trip down memory lane, back to Bleach chapter 114, titled Everything Relating to the Crumbling World. We see Kenpachi defeated by Ichigo, but now he's reminiscing about meeting his lieutenant for the first time. This is where he names her Yachiru, and said it was the name of the one person he admired. Seems he was referring to Unohana. Pretty cool, right? Really kinda sad that we didn't get to see them interacting much throughout the story, but on the other hand, we seem to know why everyone fears her now, and just does whatever she says. Pretty awesome callback. But all in all, we finally get a reveal of Kyoraku's right side in the anime, and the extent of the damage to his eye and face. I'm pretty happy we finally got to see that. I don't know why though. We also get to see Unohana's face. She kinda looks like she just woke up from an incredible power nap. And this would be the end of chapter 520. Chapter 521, titled A Piggy Party, would start out when Ichigo and Renji falling from the sky. They're fighting to see who gets landed on, only to discover Kon. Now, if you missed the last video, we actually skipped out on how he became this buff. It seems Mayuri was running some experiments on him, but in the end, it came in clutch and saving our heroes from breaking their necks during that fall. Anyways, in the manga, we would see Ichigo and Renji go over how Kon got into his clothes in the first place, but in the anime, we skip that only for them to be assaulted by these two huge watermelons of death. It really wasn't clear in the anime what happened, but checking out the manga panels, you can't miss it. They are welcome to the Gatonden, which can be translated into Bowling Pig Palace, which you can take 3 guesses as to what happens here and you'll get it on the first try. This is where Kiryu Hikifune resides, and it's designed like a kitchen. Go figure. Our heroes are being cooked up a meal fit for kings, and we find out Hikifune's ability is to imbue her spiritual pressure into her food, and whoever eats it gets much stronger. That's literally the bare bone explanation, and it's more than that. For time's sake, I won't go over all of that, but if you want to see me do a video breakdown of all of Hikifune's abilities or any of the royal guards, let me know in the comments below. Anyways, the anime and manga would pretty much follow the same path right up to when they're about to leave to the next zone and Hikifune warns them about the next man. He created the Zanpakuto. His name, Oetsu Namaya. This is where the chapter would end and also the midpoint of the anime. We leap back into the anime, showing the Soul Society and then heading underground to Kenpachi's training ground. We actually skip out an entire chapter of the manga, which is chapter 522, and about 6 pages of chapter 523 as well to get to this point. Now we get to see what Unohana has been hiding all this time. It seems she has a scar on her chest from when they first fought, when Kenpachi was a boy. She also seems to be responsible for the scar across his face. Does anyone else think she seems different in every single way? But yes, the anime and manga would pretty much follow the same path, with us finding out that Unohana was a ruthless murderer and one of the first of the Gotei 13. This is why I was shocked why they didn't ask her to become the head captain. She isn't the same as she was before. Her skill is still there and she's not just a murderer anymore. But I guess your past will always just be your past. When Kyoraku says one of them will have to die and they clash blades, this is where the chapter titled Words of Origin would come to an end. We skip page 1 of chapter 524 titled The Drop, which is the same as the anime. The two Kenpachis left something of a memento back for their lieutenants, as they know one will die. Now we jump back into the mix with them going at each other with killer intent and bloodlust, and we see the true beast of Unohana released as her eyes are glazed over and cold. She seems to have the upper hand though, giving Kenpachi several slashes to the point where he even envisioned his own death. The anime would give us an exclusive shot of Kenpachi as a child, right before he is impaled through the neck. Or was it just her bloodlust? The episode and chapter would end when Kenpachi starts questioning his resolve to stay in the fight and finally kill this monster. Swords flying everywhere, and here we are in another training arc, and I'm all for it. Anyways, let's break down this episode and see what was adapted. Bleach episode 9 covered 4 manga chapters, with each having an average of 17 pages, adding up to 67 pages in all. Each having an average of around 78 panels, all adding up to 312 panels, with 49 of those panels being unique or not adapted, which means only 263 panels were adapted, giving us a split of roughly about 84.29% to 15.71%, which is back to about the average amount of panels that were usually adapted for each episode. But this episode remains unique due to the fact that it skipped an entire manga chapter. However, based on the pacing, the manga chapters that were skipped will definitely be covered in Bleach episode 10, so look forward to that. Can't believe the season is almost over. Not sure what to do with my life afterwards. This all dwindles down, but let's not harp on that. Let's just enjoy what we have now. So if you like this episode, please leave me a comment below on the reason for it and leave me a like on your way out, and consider subscribing. We're trying to get to 3,000 subs. Thanks again for watching, V Nation. Peace out and stay safe out there.